Shalom.
Meanwhile, more than a dozen of the country's top security officials wrote an open letter to President Obama last week in the New York Times about a group that they say has been falsely designated as terrorists. Former Secretary of Homeland Security Tom Ridge and former Attorney General Michael Mukasey were two of the authors of the letter, and they join us now to explain this. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning, Ali.
This was an interesting group of leaders that came together to write this letter. There were Republicans like yourself, along with Rudy Giuliani, plus Democrats like Howard Dean, Governor Ed Rendell. Mr. Mukasey, what was so important that you all wanted to write to President Obama?
Well, a couple of things, Allison. First of all, this group was designated a terrorist organization back in the 90s as a kind of strategic device to try to open a dialogue with the Iranians. And obviously that hasn't worked. It was kept on the list after that in the belief that if they were taken off, then the Iranians would get upset and would do things like support the terrorists in Iraq and send IEDs into Iraq, which of course they're doing anyway. But this group has been persecuted in Iran. They have a group of 3,400 of them who are living in an encampment in Iraq and are now in danger of being really obliterated by the Iraqi army.
In fact, we've seen some evidence that that may already be happening. Secretary Ridge, I just want to define for our viewers what this is. This is a group called MEK, and as we understand it, they're people who are committed to a secular, democratic, and non-nuclear Iran. They sound important to Iran's future.
They certainly are. This designation has lasted for almost 15 years with the naive hope that keeping them on the terrorist list would encourage Iran to negotiate with the United States around many, many issues. But the real terrorist organization, frankly, is the state of Iran. It is the world's leading exponent and exporter of terrorism. They're responsible, I think, for a lot of the destabilization and death, not only in their own country, but in the Middle East. And frankly, these 3,400 men and women at Camp Ashraf have been vetted by the FBI and Justice back in 2003 and 2004. They found no evidence of any terrorist connections whatsoever. We promised them, the United States government promised them that we would protect them. And yet, in spite of our promise, in 2009 and 2011, Iraqi forces using equipment, vehicles, weapons, and unfortunately probably training from the United States have invaded the camp, killed 36 people, wounded 300. They have to be taken off this list. We have to get blue helmets from the UN there to protect them. We have to live up to our promise. Our credibility is at stake here.
Absolutely. And that video that we were just watching is, I believe, from the day of the, from 2009, from the clashes there with Iraqi forces. Mr. Mukasey, what happened? Why haven't we kept our promise to these 3,400 women, children, and men who we believe in to keep them out of harm's way?
Well, that's an excellent question, Allison. I think that what's gone on here is that the Iraqi government is more and more adjusting its policies to please its neighbor Iran because our presence there is diminishing. And the Iranians obviously want these people stamped out. And as a result, the Iraqis have been cracking down on them, and we're not in a position to do anything about it.
Secretary Ridge, have you gotten a response to your open letter to President Obama yet?
We have not gotten a response, and frankly, what we hear from the State Department on a regular basis is that it continues to be under advisement. But I think we need to understand that the European Union looked at the available evidence. The UK assembled a group of jurists and said the designation of this group as a terrorist organization is perverse. Our D.C. Court of Appeals in the United States here said about 18 months ago, we see no evidence of any kind that these individuals should be listed as a terrorist organization. And frankly, it has been a license to kill these people because the designation is the rationale that the Iraqi government uses to go in on the two assaults in 2009 and 2011. And quite frankly, we're fearful that there'll be an assault within the next couple of weeks because they've already blocked the main road in and are denying some of the UN officials access. We need to delist them. We need to get monitors there, and we need to live up to our promise. We promised personally 3,400 people that the United States would protect them. It is naive and morally bankrupt for us to think we can continue to negotiate with 3,400 lives at stake.
Tom Ridge, Michael Mukasey, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming in and bringing this to all of our attention. We hope you get a response to this soon. Thanks,
Thanks, Allie. Thank you very much.
Our next guest says the Occupy Wall Street protesters are proof that the left is winning the culture war.